All right. Hello? I was wondering what happened with the chat. It didn't show up at first. Hello, millionaire. All right. Hello, Gautam. Welcome. Hello, Douse. So we'll just wait a couple minutes for everybody to come in. Who's going to come in? Hello, John. Hello, Chris. Good to see you. It's been a while. All right. I think we can get started. So we'll do our chanting. Let's do Karaniya Metta Sutta. We did a Ratana last week, I believe. So we'll be on page 47. Hello, Brian. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Karaniya matta kusulena yang tang santang padang abesamecca sako uju cha suju cha suvacho cha samudu natimani santus sako cha subharo cha appakicho cha sallaukavutti santindriyo cha nepako cha appagabbo kulesu nanugido Nacha kuddang samachare kinchi yena vinyu pareyu pavadeyum sukino va kemeno hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukitatta ye kechi pana bhutati tasava tavarava anavasesa dighava ye mahantava majjama rasika nukatula Titavayeva aditta ye chadore vasante avidore Putava sambhave siva sabbe satta bhavantu sukitatta Naparo parang nekubetta nyatiman kata chinang kanchi Vyarosana patigasanya nanyamanyasa dukkamacheya Mata yata niyang puttang ayusa eka puttang anurakke evang pisabbabute su manasang bhavaye parimanang mettang cha sabbalo kasming manasang bhavaye parimanang udang adhocha tiriyancha asampadang avedang asapattang Titincherang Nisinnova Sayanova Yavatassa Vigitamiddo Etang Sating Aditya Brahmamayetang Viharang Idamahu Titincha Anupagama Silava Dasanena Sampanno Kame Suvinaya Gedang Nahijatu Gambasayang Punareti Etena Satchavajena Sotime Hotu Sabbada. Etena Satchavajena Sotiam He Hotu Sabbada. Etena Satchavajena Sotiam He Hotu Sabbada. All right, English. One skilled in good, wishing to attain that state of peace, should act thus. One should be able, straight, upright, obedient, gentle, and humble. One should be content, easy to support, with few duties, living lightly, controlled in senses, discreet, not impudent, unattached to families. One should not do any slight wrong which the wise might censure. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, large or long or large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless, loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hatred or resentment. Whether standing, walking, or sitting, lying down, or whenever awake, one should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here. Not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision. Removing desire for sensual pleasures, one comes never again to birth in the womb. By the power of this truth, may we always have well-being. All right, friends. Oh, Audrey. So, I when I first came back, there was 5, then it jumped up to 8. So, friends, welcome to Dhammapalooza again. Most of you this will not be your first Dhammapalooza, so you know the drill. This is our festival of Dhamma for 2 hours. Hello, Bante, Tan. Good to see you. I heard very good things about the recent retreat that you just did. All right. So, friends, you know the drill. If you have any topics you'd like for us to discuss, you can put the topics in the chat. If you have any questions you'd like me to answer, you can put the questions in the chat. Hello, Jessica. Welcome. And if nobody has anything, then I have a sutta for us to read. So, Robert, good to see you. So, remember also that you're welcome to talk to each other in the chat. This is a community event. So, you're not interrupting me if you're typing in the chat, talking to each other, discussing Dhamma, giving each other well wishes. That's all perfectly fine. And I'll give it a minute or two to see if anybody has any questions or topics you'd like me to discuss. Robert starts out, why should I read the stories about ghosts and heavenly mansions in the suttas? There's not that many. Well, I mean, there's the Petavatu, which is one Sri Lankan monk was funny. He translated it into English and he named it Ghost Stories. Buddhist ghost stories. I mean, that's technically what it is. It's Peta is ghost. Vatu is like, I think it has something to do with like chapter or something like that. So So there is one section that is all about Buddhist ghost stories. Why you should read them? They have there's Dhamma in there. If you look deeply enough, there's Dhamma, right? It's usually Buddha never usually brings up things without a reason, right? There's always usually some kind of a reason for bringing up of heavenly mansions. I was where was it? Was it yesterday? Oh yeah, yesterday on Sutta Monday, I found one of my favorite words that I never saw this compound before. It's called the mindfulness mansion or mindfulness castle, right? Pasada is the word there. Satipatthana Pasada, something like that was the compound. And I said that's one of the coolest words ever. The foundations of mindfulness castle. I like it. Hello, Elaine. And well, for some people, the heavenly realm sounds really good. They're not going for awakening just yet. They want to hang out in the heaven realms, right? The Buddha taught heaven. Buddha taught the path to heaven for those who that's what they wanted, right? I mean, if you're not going to, follow the path fully and try to become awakened, at the very least, it's better to try to shoot for heaven, right? Try to avoid the hell realms and the states of woe. And I suspect, right, that the Buddha is sending them to awakening, whether they like it or not. And the reason being is because he's encouraging them to follow dana, sila, right? Even if they don't do any bhavana in this life, even if they don't do any mental meditation and contemplation and mindfulness and stuff like that, it's still setting them on the track to do so, right? So I wouldn't knock the heavenly realms. They sound pretty cool, I mean, exclusively pleasurable experiences, 72 dove-footed nymphs, if you're not ready to get off the samsaric state train, it's not a bad place to be. Adriana, perfect. Shoot for awakening and you'll end up among the heavens. There you go. All right, just checking the chat here. Brian says, wanted to thank me for my excellent relationship advice. Oi, you know what I think? I love what Ajahn Brahm says. Says, why do people come and ask me questions about marriage? I'm a monk. But that's how it goes, right? I make the joke. Priests, bartenders, and Buddhist monks. That's where everybody comes. Everybody comes to get some wisdom from those three things. All right, let's see here. Robert's like, sounds like the heaven realms would be boring. Robert, as a young Catholic boy, that's what I felt about heaven. I'm like, what do? You just go to heaven and you're with the same people for like millions of years? That sounds boring. I'm like, I'm thinking like, maybe I was Alexander. Maybe I'll get to come back in the next life as like John Connor who saves humanity from the robots or something. I don't know. But but yeah, I understand. I know that feeling of heaven sounding boring. I don't know. I don't know about hell realms, getting used to hell realms. That would be pretty rough. A millionaire has the quote of the night so far. If I ever become a deva, I'll make sure to come down and roast some unruly monks. Yes, do so. If any of you go before me and become devas and see that I'm not practicing well, then you have my permission to come after me. My Indonesian friend. Hello, Hubertus. Welcome. All right. Well, I see mostly comments, not really many questions and stuff. So let's read a sutta. Oh, never mind. Here comes Brian. Oh, asking about mantras. I have a question about mantras and their effectiveness. Did the Buddha Dhamma stay anywhere they are effective for bringing peace, healing, and that chanting specific syllables has tangible effect on a reality? That's not really something you see in Theravada much. There is such a thing as Tantric Theravada, but I've never met anybody who does it. I mean, maybe it seems like it's some kind of rare sect in Asia somewhere, but I have no idea what that actually means per se. And mantra is not really something that you find in Theravada or the early texts. So I don't really have anything that I could say about it, to be honest with you. I think that they're good for like focusing the mind, right? And in the Thai tradition, they have this practice of doing Buddha, saying Buddha when they breathe. Bud, oh, Bud, oh, Bud. And so like that kind of helps get into like a little bit of a trance state, right? It kind of like focuses the mind, brings it to, some calm and things like that. At least to a certain level. Eventually, you should drop the Buddha. But that's the only example I know of in Theravada countries where you have a sort of mantra. Douse is making me smile as always. A masochist in hell saying, man, I thought this would be worse. It's not satisfying. You guys are cracking me up today with this heaven and hell stuff. All right. Hubertus, good question. I want to ask, I like Anapanasati, but when I focus my breath, all of a sudden I control my breath unwillingly. Is this kilesa? No. Well, the thing is, you've always been controlling your breath. You're just starting to realize it now. That's the thing, right? That was one of my early realizations. Like anytime I was focusing on the breath, I was trying to control it. Even if it was a very subtle form of control, I was trying to control or manipulate it, right? So that is, there's nothing wrong there. You're not doing anything wrong. That's actually showing you like, oh, look at how much control I try to assert over things, right? That's an insight. The fact that you control your breath, right? And if you're like me, somebody who has, allergies and, I was overweight, so I had sleep apnea, and I've never even when I was young and skinnier, I had breathing problems. So I've always had issues with the breath, right? And that was a big insight for me to realize how much I'm controlling the breath, right? So that's perfectly normal, right? That's something that you have to keep noticing, keep watching, keep observing, right? Don't try to force yourself. if you're trying to force yourself, I'm not going to control the breath, I'm not going to control the breath, and then 2 seconds later you find you're controlling the breath, right? That's teaching you something. It's a lesson. It's a lesson in how much we try to control not just the breath, but everything. Everything around us, even people around us, trying to control. But when we let go, the breath doesn't need you. The breath doesn't need you to do what it does, right? If you've done my guided meditations, you've heard me say this 1,000 times, right? The body just breathes fine without you, one way or the other. As long as you're alive, the body's breathing. Doesn't need you to control it, right? But we feel like this need to control. Oh, I need to do this. I have to do this, right? And then in Anapanasati, some people think that when the Buddha is explaining that sometimes the breath is long and deep or short and shallow, that means I'm supposed to just long, deep breaths or just short breaths. No, you're not supposed to do anything. You're observing how the breath is changing, right? There's no force or control in Anapanasati. Or you're not trying to do anything. You're observing. Right? Breath comes in, breath goes out. Breath is a little different now. Breath is more different than it was next. Right? If you're really observing, it's changing. Right? It can be in very subtle ways, hard to see, but it's changing. So, observe that. Don't, you're controlling it. That's normal. Right? We want to get to a point where we let go of that, right? Practice letting go of controlling things. It's very important. And that takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Tantric Theravada seems like trying to mix oil and water. Well, see, this is the thing. For thousands of years, in most Buddhist places, there's been distinct Theravada Mahayana. But in some places, it's been right on the border. Thailand is one of those places, right? Thailand, like in the Thai forest, is like the northeastern part of Thailand. You listen to some of the Thai forest masters and you're like, that doesn't sound like Theravada. Like you can see that there's this kind of mixture, right? Because that's a border between Theravada and Mahayana. And so these concepts kind of seep in. I know nothing about Tantric Theravada. The only thing I know about Tantric is not, most people, at least most Westerners, when we hear Tantric, we think of sex, like Kama Sutra and things like that. And that's not what Tantric means, at least in general. Yes, that's an aspect of it, but it's not like sex Theravada. No, that's not what it means. Adriana says, I heard Ajahn Pastano mentioning metta phrases being a mantra, and he gave a Pali word for mantra. I don't know. Well, whenever I do my metta, I tell people that when you say the words, it's not meant to be a mantra, right? And what I mean by that is it's not meant to be just kind of said repeatedly or quickly, or that there's power just in the words, right? And some people could say that's kind of a misrepresentation of mantra, and it might be. I don't know. But what it's supposed to be is that the words are supposed to help you elicit those thoughts of goodwill in your mind, right? Goodwill and friendship in your mind. That's what they're there for, right? And when you say like, may all of us in this town find happiness, right? When you say a word like that, you're supposed to be really mean it, like really try to feel it. Like, yes, may all of us find happiness, right? So that's using words and stuff in metta, is like that. Yeah, Brian, I mean, it could very well be that mantras have some kind of magic power. I don't know. But I could only kind of respond from my own experience in the framework of the Dhamma that I'm familiar with. I mean, you even see, like, I remember when I was in lay life, I was big into anime from a teenage years. I remember like Naruto, like in like those Japanese anime, they have like the, like they do the hand mudras and they say words and like, things happen and stuff like that. That's why I've never seen that. So in Buddhism, so I can't say much about it. All right. Huberta says, Bante, after the control problems, I try to count. And then again, after a few seconds, my mind split one. Tell me to think just the nice. I don't know. I don't know if I fully understand what you said there, Hubertus. Counting can be okay, but eventually you want to drop the counting, right? Because if you're counting, you're not really doing anapanasati, right? Like the any kind of noting is something that's kind of extra, right? That you're adding to the experience. And what you want to do is kind of just be fully there with the experience. And it's not going to be always pleasant. It's not going to go how you want it to go. That's the point. Like, that's part of understanding what it is, right? It's part of understanding that this is not easy. That your mind is distracted. Your mind has craving, right? You want to control because of that craving, right? The breath is boring, so your mind wants to go somewhere else. That's all normal. Right? The point is to try to always come back to the breath. Stay with the breath as much as you can. Right? That's the most important thing. Knowing fully well that the minute you come back to the breath, within 10 seconds, you're going to be away from it. Right? That's normal. Right? Especially in the beginning. It takes years of practice for that to get a little easier. It's not something that happens overnight. Yeah, Brian, that's right. I was Bante G used to teach this exercise where each one, two. I haven't thought about this exercise in a long time, but like that was kind of like the game, as it were. Can I go all the way? No. And then once you get to 10, 9, and you go back to 1, and then you go back up to 9, then back to 1, up to 8, back to 1, up to 7, back to and so like the goal was like, can you get to 1, 2, 1 without being distracted? And I don't think I ever did it. That's a long time to go without the mind being distracted one way or another. It's gonna happen. But that I haven't thought about that in a long time. But yeah, that was one of those things. You know, my mind. This is one of the things. After you practice for a long time, sometimes it's hard to remember how your mind was before. For the most part, my mind is almost consistently kind of chill and quiet these days, right? And this was even kind of before becoming a monk. So like my mind is not as like, monkey mind as it used to be. It tends towards calm and quiet because it's really nice. You convince the mind like, this is what this meditation stuff does? Yeah, I want to do this more. Right? And then it just kind of levels out, Of course, that's not like permanent. Of course, my mind goes through stages and things like that. But there's a baseline that kind of becomes calm over time. Like it's like the baseline of what's calm and what's a crazy mind just raises. And it's just, it just becomes more peaceful. That's what the practice is for. That's what it does, right? All right, did I miss anything? Just the counting. All right. Okay, let's read a sutta. And now I predict I will see a millionaire say, yay, and Adriana say, no. All right. We're going to read from the Majjhima Nikaya, the longer discourse with Vacchagotta. All right. Did I post the link? Yeah, I did. All right. So I have heard. At one time, the Buddha was staying near Vacchagotta in the bamboo grove, the squirrels' feeding ground. Uh-oh, buffering. I'm okay with everybody else. I noticed as soon as I said we're going to read a sutta, we had a drop off. I think we went from like 15 or 16 to 12. That's okay. Oh. Okay, all seems good. At one time, the Buddha was staying near Vacchagotta in the bamboo grove, the squirrels' feeding ground. Then the wanderer Vacchagotta. There's 3 suttas with Vacchagotta in the Majjhima Nikaya. Then the wanderer Vacchagotta went up to the Buddha and exchanged greetings with him. When the greetings and polite conversation were over, he sat down to one side and said to the Buddha, "For a long time I have had discussions with Master Gautama. Please teach me in brief what is skillful and what is unskillful. Vacchagotta, I can teach you what is skillful and what is unskillful in brief or in detail. Still, let me do so in brief. Listen and pay close attention. I will speak. Yes, Vaccha replied. The Buddha said this: greed is unskillful, contentment is skillful. Hatred is unskillful. Love is skillful. Delusion is unskillful. Understanding is skillful. I don't know if I like these translations by Bhante. So this is these three things is here. It's greed, hatred, and delusion. Right? These are the three akusala mula. So obviously, if you're going to talk about what is skillful and unskillful, akusala means unskillful, mula means roots, right? So greed, hatred, and delusion, lobha, dosa, moha, are going to be those roots, right? So here the Buddha is saying lobha, greed, is unskillful. Alobha, non-greed, right, is skillful. Dosa, ill will, is unskillful. Adosa, goodwill, is skillful. Moha, delusion, is unskillful. Amoha, non-delusion, is skillful. So that's what the Buddha is saying here. And you can see this in Majjhima Nikaya number 19, two kinds of thoughts, where the Buddha brings, splits his thoughts into two kinds as they arise. Either thoughts of greed, hatred, and delusion, or thoughts of greed, hatred, and harming, and thoughts of non-greed, non-harming, and non-hatred. Right? So you can see these three things, what is skillful and what is unskillful. Right? Observing what arises in your mind. So there are these three unskillful things and three that are skillful. Killing living creatures, stealing, and sexual misconduct, speech that's false, divisive, harsh, and nonsensical, covetousness, ill will, and wrong view. These things are unskillful. Refraining from killing living creatures, stealing, and sexual misconduct, refraining from speech that's false, divisive, harsh, or nonsensical, contentment, kind-heartedness, and right view. These things are skillful. So there are these 10 unskillful things and 10 that are skillful. Yeah, Buddhist translators tend to not like to just put like the negation, right? Like the greed and non-greed. Like they don't like. I guess they think people don't know what non-greed is, so they just like choose. Oh yeah, contentment. I mean, I guess it kind of works, but I don't know. I'm a bit of a stickler for more accuracy in that regard, because people could choose a couple different words for each one of these things. And that's what translators tend to do. They tend to choose a word that they find that they like the most and that fits the most, and they choose that word. When a mendicant has given up craving, so it is cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, obliterated and unable to arise in the future, that mendicant is perfected. They've ended the defilements, completed the spiritual journey, done what had to be done, laid down the burden. Two of my favorite things in all the suttas in one sentence. The victory cry of the Arahant and laying down the burden. I love it. achieved their own true goal, utterly ended the fetters of rebirth, and are rightly freed through enlightenment. Leaving aside Master Gotama, is there even a single monk disciple of Master Gotama who has realized the undefiled freedom of heart and freedom of wisdom in this very life, and lives having realized with their own insight due to the ending of defilements? So now this is a very interesting section where the Buddha shows about where he shows how many of the the fourfold assembly has attained to various levels of awakening. There are not just 100 such monks who are my disciples, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 500, but many more than that. Leaving aside Master Gotama, the monks, is there even a single non-disciple of Master Gotama who has realized the undefiled freedom of heart and freedom by wisdom in this very life, and lives having realized it with their own insight due to the ending of defilements? There are not just 100 such nuns who are my disciples, Vaccha, but 2 or 3 or 4 or 500, but many more. Leaving aside Master Gotama, the monks, and the nuns, is there even a single lay disciple of Master Gotama, white-clothed and celibate, who, with the ending of the 5 lower fetters, is reborn spontaneously to be extinguished there, not liable to return from the world? So notice here, that the when they're talking about lay people, they don't go to awakening, right? Because it's very, very extremely rare for a lay person to become awakened. And usually when that happens, pretty much right away, they are already on the path to becoming a monastic, or they just become a monastic right off. Because for an awakened being, there's no place in the householder life for an awakened being. Right? There's no reason for them to be there anymore. So they usually become monks. Now there's this whole thing that kind of came out of nowhere later where it's like they must become a monk within 7 days or their head explodes. That's not like from the early texts. I don't know where that comes from. It's just the nature of becoming awakened, that you're not going to just hang out in lay life. This is not stream entry, Adriana. This is about non-returners. So the level right below awakening. So is there a single layman who, with the ending of the 5 lower fetters, that's a non-returner, is reborn spontaneously, also a non-returner, to be extinguished there? There are not just 100 such celibate laymen who are my disciples. And again, celibate laymen. Interesting. So it's showing you that to get to that point, there's a level of kind of living a renunciate life, even if it's a lay life. And you have the example of Adriana, you remember, right? Gatikara, right? The potter, the friend of the Buddha from a past life, who we just read I think it was last week during the ending Samyutta Nikaya verses where we read him coming back and talking to the Buddha as a non-returner, right? Leaving aside Master Gotama, the monks, the nuns, and celibate laymen, is there even a single layman disciple of Master Gotama, white-clothed, sensual, enjoying sensual pleasures? Wait, did I miss something here? Okay. Is there even a single layman disciple of the Master Gotama, white clothed, enjoying sensual pleasures, following instructions and responding to advice, who has gone beyond doubt, got rid of indecision, and lives self-assured and independent of others regarding the teacher's instructions? That is a Sotapanna. There are not just 100 such laymen enjoying sensual pleasures who are my disciples, Vaccha, but 2, 3, or 4, or 500, but many more. Leaving aside, Master Gotama, the monks, nuns, celibate laymen, the laymen who enjoy sensual pleasures, is there a single laywoman disciple of the Master Gotama, white clothed and celibate, who with the ending of the 5 lower fetters is reborn spontaneously to be extinguished there, not liable to return from that world? There are not just 100 such celibate laywomen who are my disciples, Vaccha, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 500, but many more than that. Leaving aside Master Gotama, the monks, the nuns, the celibate laymen, the laymen enjoying sensual pleasures, and the celibate laywomen, is there even a single laywoman, disciple of the Master Gotama, white clothed, enjoying sensual pleasures, following instructions and responding to advice, who has gone beyond doubt, got rid of the indecision, and lives self-assured and independent of others regarding the teacher's instructions? There are not just 100 such laywomen enjoying sensual pleasures who are my disciples, Vaccha, but 2 or 3 or 4 or 500, but many more than that. Adriana says, well, enjoying sensual pleasures, well, that's all the excuse I need. Well, yeah, if you want to be a stream enter, you can enjoy sensual pleasures. So for those, the way this goes is this, right? There's 10 fetters, and a stream enter has taken out the first 5, or not. I'm sorry, a non-returner has taken out the first 5, right? A once returner has weakened the last, who has taken out 3, but has weakened greed and hatred, right? And the Sotapanna has abandoned doubt, has abandoned attachment to rules and rituals, and has abandoned identity view, right? So once you become a Sotapanna, a stream enter, those 3 are done. Right? So those 3 are done. And then you have a once returner, and they kind of cut greed and hatred in half, right? It's not fully gone. They've attenuated it. They've made it weaker. So even if you're a once returner, right, you still have greed and hatred in you. You can still do stupid things, right? You're not perfected yet. You're getting close, but you're not perfected yet, right? Then a non-returner abandons the greed and hatred, right? And so the first 5 are done, but you're only halfway there, right? You get Sotapanna, once returner, non-returner, only halfway there, right? So by that point, you have, by that point, you've abandoned the doubt, identity view, attachment to rites and rituals, right? Or believing rites and rituals in and of themselves can bring you to awakening, which was a common belief at the time of the Buddha, which is why it's part of this, as part of the fetters. And then greed and hatred, right? But there's 5 more. So the last 5 are desire to be reborn in a form realm, like the human realm. Desire to be born in a formless realm, like the devas or the mind wrought realms. Right? Then there's restlessness. So this restlessness is the restlessness of, I'm so close. I'm so close to awakening. Let me finish. Right? And then there's restlessness. Oh boy, there's always that one that I miss. The last one is ignorance. The last one is ignorance. So it's the form realm, formless realm, restlessness. Oh, the conceit I am. That's the last one. Conceit. Right. So even though a Sotipanna has abandoned identity view, right? This is the view of like, this body is not me. This body is not mine. This body is not myself. Right? This is not mine. This is not me. This is not myself. But there's still this like feeling of like, I am. Right? I exist. Right? The only being who fully has broken through all the way and an understanding anatta is an awakened being. Right? Up until your awakening, you still have that kind of little seed of I am. Right? But that's abandoned. Right? That has been eradicated, and ignorance is eradicated, and then job's done. Right? All right, let's continue. If Master Gautama was the only one to succeed in this teaching, not any monks, then the spiritual path would be incomplete in that respect. But because both Master Gautama and monks have succeeded in this teaching, the spiritual path is complete in that respect. If Master Gautama and the monks were the only ones who succeeded in this teaching, not any nuns, not any celibate laymen, laymen enjoying sensual pleasures, celibate laywomen enjoying sensual pleasures, then the spiritual life would be incomplete. Notice the importance of that, right? This is another aspect of how the fourfold assembly is so important. Right? The fourfold assembly is Buddhism. It is the vehicle that keeps the Buddhist teachings alive. Right? When Mara asked the Buddha in the beginning after his awakening, it's okay, you can peace out now. Goodbye. The world doesn't need you. Right? And Buddha says, I will not pass away until my bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, laymen and laywomen, are all skilled, knowledgeable, practicing well, etc., etc., etc. Right? So this is without that fourfold assembly, the spiritual path would be incomplete. Very important thing there to understand. But because Master Gautama, monks, nuns, celibate laywomen, celibate laymen, celibate laywomen have all succeeded in this teaching, this spiritual path is complete in that respect. Just as the Ganges River slants, slopes, and inclines towards the ocean and keeps pushing into the ocean, in the same way, Master Gautama's assembly with both lay people and monks slants, slopes, and inclines towards extinguishment and keeps pushing into extinguishment. Excellent Master Gautama. I go for refuge to the Master Gautama, to the teaching, and to the Mendicant Sangha. Sir, may I receive the going forth. So now he's like, okay, I want to become a monk. Right? The ordination in the Buddha's presence. Vacha. If someone formally ordained in another sect wishes to take the going forth, the ordination in this teaching and training, they must spend 4 months on probation. When 4 months have passed, if the mendicants are satisfied, they will give the going forth, the ordination into monkhood. So this is like if a Catholic priest wanted to become a Buddhist monk, right, there would be this 4-month period, right? Of course, I mean, in practice, in the West, becoming a monk takes years now. It's not just like okay, here you're a monk. So even if they were a Catholic priest and they wanted to become a Buddhist monk, they're still, by the time they become a Buddhist monk, is going to be probably 2 years. If they go to Thailand, then this would apply, because in Thailand you can get off the plane and be ordained like that. So get off the plane a layperson and go to bed a monastic, right? But normally in the West, this is not the case. So they would need a 4-month probation period. When 4 months have passed, they'll give the going forth. However, I recognize individual differences in this matter. Now, this is Vacchagotta. Sir, if 4 months probation are required in such a case, I'll spend 4 years on probation. When 4 years have passed, if the mendicants are satisfied, let them give me the going forth and ordination to monkhood. And the wanderer Vacha received the going forth, the ordination in the Buddha's presence. And now, one of the important things to understand here is the very first sutta with Vacchagotta coming to the Buddha, he was not respectful to the Buddha, and he was kind of combative, if I remember correctly. So over a couple of suttas, he has changed his tune, and now at the end, he becomes a monastic. Not long after his ordination, 2 weeks later, Venerable Vacchagotta went to the Buddha, bowed down, sat to one side, and said to him, Sir, I've reached as far as possible with the knowledge and understanding of a trainee. Please tell me further. All right, just checking the chat real quick. Well then, Vacha, further develop 2 things. Serenity. So this is samatha and vipassana. That's what the Buddha is saying. Serenity and discernment is translated here. So develop samatha and vipassana, the mind state of tranquility and the mind state of seeing deeply with insight. When you have further developed these 2 things, they'll lead to the penetration of many elements. Whenever you want, you'll be capable of realizing the following in each and every case. May I wield the many kinds of psychic power, multiplying myself and becoming one again, appearing and disappearing, going unimpeded through a wall, a rampart, or a mountain as if through space, diving in and out of the earth as if it were water, walking on water as if it were earth, flying cross-legged through the sky like a bird, touching and stroking with my hand the sun and the moon, so mighty and powerful, controlling my body as far as the Brahma realm. Whenever you want, you'll be capable of realizing the following in each and every case. With clairaudience that is purified and superhuman, may I hear both kinds of sounds, humans and divine, whether near or far. Whenever you want, you'll be capable of realizing the following in each and every case. May I understand the minds of others, of other beings and individuals, having comprehended them with my mind. May I understand mind with greed as mind with greed. Mind without greed is mind without greed. Mind with hate is mind with hate. And mind without hate is mind without hate. Mind with delusion is mind with delusion. And mind without delusion is mind without delusion. Constricted mind is constricted, and scattered mind is scattered. These are all, coincidentally enough, part of Chitta Nupassana, the mind section of four foundations of mindfulness. These are the types of mind, the different tones of mind that you're supposed to be investigating, right? So when you know for yourself, then you understand the minds of others. A constricted mind is constricted, a scattered mind is scattered. Expansive mind is expansive. Unexpansive mind is unexpansive. Mind that is not supreme is mind that is not supreme. Mind that is supreme is mind that is supreme. Mind immersed in samadhi is mind immersed in samadhi. Mind not immersed in samadhi is mind not immersed in samadhi. Freed mind is freed, and unfreed mind is unfreed. So those of you who are worried about monks and other beings being able to read the exact contents of your mind, as far as I can tell from the suttas, that is not possible. They can tell if your mind is all lusted up or full of hatred and things like that. But as far as I can tell, they can't actually know exactly what you're thinking. And isn't that a wonderful thing? Who wants to, so many things in our mind that we would never want another person to hear, right? So it's a good thing. Adriana, what, you mean you actually wanted to be able to read exactly what's in people's minds? I think I know what's in your mind now, Adriana. Okay. Whenever you want, you'll be capable of realizing the following in each and every case. May I recollect many kinds of past lives, that is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 1,000, 100,000 rebirths. Many eons of the world contracting, many eons of the world expanding, many eons of the world contracting and expanding. May I remember there I was named this, my clan was that, I looked like this, and that was my food. This was how I felt pleasure and pain, and that is how my life ended. When I passed away from that place, I will be reborn somewhere else. There too, I was named this, my clan was that, I looked like this, and that was my food. This was how I felt pleasure and pain, and that was how my life ended. When I passed away from that place, I was reborn there. May I recollect many kinds of past lives, may I recollect my many past lives with features and details. Whenever you want, you'll be capable of realizing the following in every case. With clairvoyance that is purified and superhuman, may I see sentient beings passing away and being reborn, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, in a good place or a bad place, and understand how sentient beings are reborn according to their deeds. These dear beings did bad things by way of body, speech, and mind. They spoke ill of the noble ones. They had a wrong view, and they chose to act out of that wrong view. When their body breaks up after death, they're reborn in a place of loss, a bad place, the underworld, hell. These dear beings, however, did good things by way of body, speech, and mind. They never spoke ill of the noble ones. They had right view, and they chose to act out of that right view. When their bodies breaks up after death, they're reborn in a good place, a heavenly realm. And so with the clairvoyance that is purified and superhuman, may I see sentient beings passing away and being reborn, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, in a good place or a bad place. And may I understand how the sentient beings are reborn according to their deeds. Excuse me. Whenever you want, you'll be capable of realizing the following in each and every case. May I realize the undefiled freedom of heart and freedom by wisdom in this very life, and live having realized it by my own insight due to the endings of defilements. And then Venerable Vacchagotta approved and agreed with what the Buddha said. He got up from his seat, bowed, and respectfully circled the Buddha, keeping him on his right before leaving. Then Vacchagotta, living alone, withdrawn, diligent, keen, and resolute, soon realized the supreme end of the spiritual path in this very life. He lived having achieved with his own insight the goal for which gentlemen rightly go forth from lay life into homelessness. He understood the victory cry of the Arahants here. Rebirth is ended. The spiritual journey has been completed. What had to be done has been done. There is no further return to any state of existence. And Venerable Vacchagotta became one of the perfected. Now at that time, several mendicants were going to see the Buddha. Vacchagotta saw them coming off in the distance, went up to them and said, "Hello, venerables, where are you going?" Reverend, avuso here means friend. So this is kind of like a respectful term that monks give each others. And or monks can say this to lay followers as well, right? So we are going to see the Buddha. Well then, reverends, in my name, please bow with your head at the Buddha's feet and say, "Sir, the mendicant Vacchagotta bows with his head at your feet and says, 'I have served the Blessed One, I have served the Blessed One, the Holy One.'" "Yes, Reverend," they replied. Then those mendicants went up to the Buddha, bowed, sat down to one side, and said to him, "Sir, the mendicant Vacchagotta bows with his head to your feet and says, 'I have served the Blessed One, I have served the Holy One.'" The Buddha responds, "I've already comprehended Vacchagotta's mind and understood that he has the three knowledges and is very mighty and powerful. All deities also told me about this." Right? So Buddha was able to comprehend Vacchagotta's mind, and also devas came and said he's awakened. That is what the Buddha said. Satisfied, the mendicants were happy with what the Buddha said. And so we come to the end of the sutta. Let me check the chat. Oh, is this a name that I'm not familiar with? Arthur. Arthur, are you with us on the Discord, or am I meeting you for the first time? A millionaire is saying Adriana wants to get traumatized by being able to read people's minds. You know what's in your own mind. So you know what might be in other people's minds too. Arthur says, wait, Buddhism knew that the universe is expanding. So in the Buddhist cosmology, there's no beginning and end, really. So essentially, expanding, contracting. So this lines up with some of the theories of physicists and quantum physicists about what one of the possible ways that the universe ends. So it's the expanding universe and then the big crunch, right? And then possibly from that, another big bang, expanding universe, big crunch. So that's what that's basically what the Buddha says that the universe does. Science does not know which one is right yet. There's a couple theories. But essentially that's, so if that theory tends to be true, then the Buddha was right about science, about the universe, then yes. But we might have to wait a couple billion years to find that out. At least maybe a couple million by the time we really know. All right. Okay. A friend of yours is in the Discord already, Arthur. All right, good. So did you send the email? right? Or you're just waiting and your friend is going to ask us to join in? All right. Okay. Adriana's already on the ball. Very good. So I think it might be time for half the people to clear out. What does that mean? It might be time for guided meditation. Oh, wait, did I miss? I think Hubers actually asked a question. My friend tell me that Buddhists never achieve modern life like today because contentment and letting go. Meaning like it's harder to become awakened in today? I don't know. Greed, hatred, and delusion is greed, hatred, and delusion. 2,600 years ago or today. I'm not quite convinced with any theory that says it's harder today than it was in the past because of XYZ, because of computers, phones, screens, right? Who knows? Ask Bante, ever read a Sotipanna still crying? Yeah, I would say it's probably still possible for a Sotipanna to cry. For one reason or another. Could be even crying in joy of the Dhamma. Dowse is asking tough questions, trying to find out if he's a once returner. No. You would know if you're free from sensual desire by your mind. You could see it in your own mind. That's how you would know. Right? You watch your mind as you meditate and you practice, and you see, oh, okay, this is interesting. There's no desire in my mind right now. Right? And that lasts about 2 seconds. And some desire comes back in, but you get a little glimpse of it, right? And then you practice and follow the path, and eventually you say, oh, it's all gone. All right. Oh, a little bit of a jump here. Arthur, yeah, you can ask the questions. People can ask the questions, no problems. Hubertus, so 31, I assume you mean the 31 realms of existence, not just Earth. Well, I think when they talk about a world system, the various realms of existence exist within that world system. So the whole thing, like that. Now, no, well, actually, I'm wrong. I think I'm wrong. Because there is a sutta where the Buddha explains how when the world is contracting, right? So what's happening? All the planets are being destroyed. I mean, like life is. So when the world is contracting, the majority of beings are born in the heavenly realms, right? They're born as devas, right? And then as the world expands again, and there's more ability to, come back into life, then they're born out of the deva realm. Arthur says, what do those superpowers mean? Are they literal or just candy to attract people? No, they are literal. And actually, the Buddha is very against them in a way. Like, he doesn't encourage you to get that. He doesn't really say that they're that good. As a matter of fact, he actually discourages. He says, even if you get, these are a side effect of the practice, but if you get them, okay, they're not really needed to become awakened. And some people will get them and some people won't. Right? It's just the way it is. Mahamoggallana, and Sariputta, the two chief disciples of the Buddha, one could make the 10,000 world systems quake with his little toe, and the other one couldn't even see devas. That's the way it goes. All right, let's do our guided meditation. That'll bring us to what, 45, and then we'll have some time after the guided meditation if you have any questions, or we can read some Samyutta Nikaya verses. All right, friends. So set yourself up in whatever posture that works for you for meditating. We'll scan through our body, starting with our feet. Bring your awareness to the feet. By bring awareness, this means to try to come into contact with any sensation or feeling that comes to your awareness from that part of your body, such as the feeling of the feet pressing against the floor. If you have trouble coming into contact with a sensation, you can always prompt yourself by asking, what do I see? What do I feel? Bring your awareness up through your ankles and your calves. Through your knees, your thighs, while going through the parts of your body, you want to adjust your body to make sure that you can sit for longer periods of time with the least amount of pain and discomfort. When you become skilled and practice at this, you'll be able to see really small, minute feelings of discomfort and imbalances in your posture that will lead to something much greater and more painful later on. It's always good to spend time adjusting your posture before you start mindfulness of breathing, because you want to be able to be as motionless as possible, as little movement as possible once you start. Bring your awareness to your hips and pelvis. This is a very important part of the lower body. Lower body, which acts as a firm foundation for the upper body. The position of your pelvis affects the position of the spine. Whether the spine and the upper body is leaning or slouching or resting comfortably on the lower body, with the spine in its neutral position. So check to make sure that your pelvis is in a good position for your posture. When you're ready setting up the lower body, you can move into the upper, through the abs and the chest. Check to make sure that the shoulders are hanging loosely, not scrunched up and tight. Bring your awareness down through your elbows and hands. Check the position of them, that they're in a comfortable position that supports your posture, doesn't cause your upper body to lean or slouch. And finally, bring your awareness up to your head, checking that the chin is parallel to the ground. The head is not slouching or leaning, resting comfortably on the upper body. And when you set up your body in a comfortable and stable position, let the body go and take 3 deep breaths. Then let the breath go. This body has been breathing from the moment you were born and will continue to do so until the second you die. It doesn't need you to do its job. Your job is to simply abide with the breath, to investigate it and observe it. Watch as this body breathes in. Watch as this body breathes out. You may find most prominent the feeling of the air going in and out of the nostrils. You can place your awareness there. Or you may find most prominent the rise and fall of the chest. If you have trouble following the breath at your nose, you can place your awareness there. Or you can simply abide with the basic awareness that this body is breathing in and this body is breathing out. As you're following your breath, you will become distracted. Your mind will want to go to the past or the future, across the world or the galaxy, as far away as it can from the breath. Or an external distraction will arise, like a sound. Once you start to realize, once it dawns on you that you have been distracted away from the breath, first acknowledge that distraction. Acknowledge that you have been taken away from your breath. Marshal your mindfulness. And then practice letting go of the distraction. By letting go, this means that we try not to get agitated with it and push it away. nor do we get excited about it and think about it more, get engaged and involved with it. We simply want to let the distraction go. Give it no energy, no momentum. Let it be as it is and return to the breath. Let it go on its way. Acknowledge, let go, and return over and over. As you follow your breath, every once in a while, check in with the state of your mind. Is your mind becoming more tranquil, peaceful, or not? If so, you may begin to notice more subtle, refined aspects of the breath. Sometimes the breath is long and deep, sometimes short and shallow. Try to observe these more subtle characteristics, these changes in the breath. Try to investigate how the breath is moving and changing as you follow it coming in and going out. As your mind becomes more tranquil and peaceful, you may begin to see even more subtle characteristics of the breath. Try to observe the full cycle of the breath. The breath coming in, the pause, when the lungs are full of air. The breath going out, the pause when the lungs are empty of air. Try to stick with the whole cycle of the breath, observing its finer characteristics and the impermanence there, how it's changing. Try to stay with the whole cycle of the breath. Slowly start to open your eyes. Come from the internal back to the external. Slowly become aware of the room that you're in. the live stream and your Dhamma friends in the chat. We still have about 10 minutes before we're going to end. So if you have any comments or questions, you can put those in there. And as we'll do, we can read from the Samyutta Nikaya verses. I'll read a couple verses and then I'll check the chat. With Nanda standing to one side, the god Nanda recited this verse in the Buddha's presence. Time flies, nights pass by, the stages of life leave us one by one. Seeing this peril and death, you should do good deeds that bring happiness. Time flies. Now this is the Buddha responding. It's like a little rap battle. The devas come down, all glorious like, and they give a little verse, and then the Buddha responds. Time flies, night passes by, the stages of life leave us one by one. Seeing this peril and death, one looking for peace should drop the world's bait. As the Buddha drops the mic. "28 with Nandivisala. Standing to one side, the god Nandivisala addressed the Buddha in verse. 4 are its wheels and 9 its doors. It's filled with greed and tied up, and it's born from a bog. Great hero, how am I supposed to live like this? Buddha's response. Having cut the strap and harness, wicked desire and greed, and having plucked out craving, root and all, that's how you're supposed to live like this. It's okay, Arthur. As long as you did the meditation, doesn't matter how long it was when you're starting out. It's good that you did it and tried to go as long as you could. Adriana says, another quality of the Buddha, ultimate rap battle challenger. Yes, Buddha knows how to drop the mic. With Susima at Savatthi, then the Venerable Ananda went up to the Buddha, bowed and sat down to one side. The Buddha said to him, Ananda, do you like Sariputta? This is an interesting question because remember, when Sariputta died, Ananda said, it is as if I have lost my desire and will, and I've lost my senses, right? Because he cared so much for Sariputta, right? Do you like Sariputta, Ananda? Sir, who on earth would not like Venerable Sariputta unless they're a fool, a hater? Adriana, this is a good one, right? I don't think I've ever seen Bhante Sujato's translation as hater. As a hater. Let's see. I want to see what Pali word that might be. Let's see. Foolish, gone astray, deranged. I don't know where hater comes in, but that's kind of funny. So you'd have to be foolish, gone astray, and deranged. Venerable Sariputta is astute. He has great wisdom. Widespread wisdom, laughing wisdom, swift wisdom, sharp wisdom. So remember, this is Sariputta is the disciple of the Buddha who had no psychic powers whatsoever. However, He was the chief disciple of wisdom. All right. Laughing wisdom. Oh, there you go. Hasapanyo, laughter. Right? Or hasa is laughter. Panya. Hasapanya is I think that's the name of the bhikkhuni who's the abbotess at the bhikkhuni monastery in Ajahn Brahm's tradition. So now I know what her name means. I kind of like it. I kind of like that name. I want that name, to be honest with you. It's pretty cool. Although most excellent victory is also pretty cool too. But anyway, swift wisdom, sharp wisdom, impenetrating wisdom. He has few wishes. He's content, secluded, aloof, and energetic. He gives advice and accepts advice. He accuses and criticizes wickedness. Who on earth would not like Venerable Sariputta unless they're a fool, a hater, delusional, or mentally deranged? See, isn't this interesting, right? He accuses and criticizes wickedness. See, that's one of the things that the Buddha actually does encourage in the monks, to call out what is bad. Christine, hello. Good to see you. What the you can say, Adriana, you can say, what the hell, hater? Ananda, what the hell? Oh, right. Okay. And for those of you who don't know, that's another translation of Bhante Sujata from the suttas. So I'm not just saying it to say it. All right. Who on earth would not like Venerable Sariputta? That's so true, Ananda. So true. Who on earth would not like Venerable Sariputta? Unless they're a fool, a hater, delusional, or mentally deranged. And the Buddha repeated all of Ananda's terms of praise. While this praise of Sariputta was being spoken, the god Susima approached the Buddha, escorted by a large assembly of gods. He bowed, stood to one side, and said to him, This is another reason why I don't like deities and gods for devas. Doesn't it sound like the Greek pantheon just came to the Buddha? Sir, the god Susima approached the Buddha, escorted by a large assembly of gods. So you got Hades and Zeus, and it just doesn't work. Using devas is just so much better. But anyway, and so they said, so true, Blessed One. That's so true, Holy One. Who on earth would not like Venerable Sariputta unless they're a fool, a hater, delusional, or mentally deranged? And he too repeated all the terms of praise for Sariputta, adding, for I too, sir, whenever I go to assembly of gods, frequently hear the same terms of praise. While this praise of Sariputta was being spoken, the gods of Susima's assembly, uplifted and overjoyed, full of rapture and happiness, generated a rainbow of bright colors. Suppose there was a beryl gem that was naturally beautiful, 8-faceted, well-worked. When placed on a cream rug, it would shine and glow and radiate. In the same way, the gods of Susima's assembly generated a rainbow of bright colors. Suppose there was a pendant of river gold, fashioned by an expert smith. When wrought in the forge, when the place on a cream rug, it would shine and then glow and radiate. In the same way, the gods of Susima's assembly generated a rainbow of bright colors. Suppose that after the rainy season, the sky was clear and cloudless. At the crack of dawn, the morning star shines and glows and radiates. In the same way, the gods of Susima assembly generated a rainbow of bright colors. Suppose that after the rainy season, the sky was clear and cloudless. As the sun rises, it would dispel all the darkness from the sky as it shines and glows and radiates. In the same way, the gods of Susima's assembly generated a rainbow of bright colors. Then the god Susima recited this verse about Venerable Sariputta in the Buddha's presence. He's considered astute, Sariputta, free of anger, few in wishes, sweet, tame, the hermit shines in the teacher's praise. Then the Buddha replied to Susima in this verse about Sariputta. He's considered astute, Sariputta, free of anger, few in wishes, sweet, tame, developed and well tamed. He bides his time. So biding your time, this is this means that he's awakened, right? But he still has his final body. So he's not parinibbana yet. So he's biding his time. All right, friends, we come to 9:56 here. So it's time to do our sharing of merits. Dukkha patta chani dukkha, bhaya patta chani bhaya, soka patta chani soka, hantu sabbe pipaniyo, ettavata cha amehi sampatang punya sampatang, sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhiya, akasata jabumata deva naga mahiddika, punyang tang anumoditva charang rakantu sasanang. May the suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share in this merit that we've thus acquired, for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas, yakas, and nagas of mighty power, share in this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, friends. So, time for the final stuff. Now, next week is my final Dhammapalooza until I go away for about 4 months or so. So the next week, that last Dhammapalooza will be the last event that I do. And until probably mid to late November or December. And then that'll be it. So I'll come back if I'm still alive, if I haven't been eaten by any bears, and the devas have protected me in the woods. And then I'll be around and we can come back. But until then, friends, we still have one more Dhammapalooza left. Tomorrow is the last morning monastery experience. I'm ending that a week early because next week is going to be quite busy during the day. And that's that. So, friends, I wish you a very spiritually successful and peaceful week. Sukhi Hotu, may you be happy. Practice well and be well.